What if I told you that the reason weight loss is so hard has nothing to do with food or exercise? I have about 10 minutes. Let's talk about it. So, weight loss or body transformation is often seen as a calories in versus calories out kind of a game, right? You eat less, you move more, you lose weight. And as a woman who has been on this planet for a few decades now, more than a few decades, and has had my own journey with body and weight and even eating disorders and things like that, I can tell you that it's bigger than calories in versus calories out. And I'm going to tell you why. When we begin a journey of body transformation, we get to really look at where our focus is in terms of what kind of imagery we're taking in, what of media we're exposing ourselves to, and how we're actually thinking about bodies in general. And what I mean by this is if you're anything like me, you open up your social media and you see all types of bodies, right? You see all types of beautiful bodies. They might be bigger bodies, they might be medium-sized bodies, they might be small bodies. But here's the catch. Because I have been in the space of being on sets for filming TV shows, being in modeling, being in photography, being in social media and meeting some of these people that are on social media in real life, what I think misses a lot of us, self included, is the real truth that you actually can't get a solid idea of someone's body through the lens of a camera. And so what we think we see is not actually what is a true representation of the physical condition of that human that we're looking at. And the reason I'm explaining this in this way is very personal for me because this is something that got in the way of my personal body journey and caused a lot of problems for a long time, probably 2 decades, because I couldn't wrap my brain around the idea that the women that I was looking to in terms of aspiration in physique and in body composition and in even body style, they don't look like that, number one. But number two is the acceptance that I'm not built like that, right? And I had this moment where I was working out with my trainer probably a couple years ago. And there was this moment where it clicked for me that every woman who I referenced externally, who was not me, but who I thought, God, her body's beautiful. I want my body to look like that. I want my body to move like that. All are 3 to 4 inches shorter than me. And they're all living in a body frame that is significantly more petite than I am. So it actually doesn't matter how hard I work, how much effort I put into this, how clean I eat, how much I move. If I keep telling myself this lie that I could look like them, then I am not putting myself in a position to be successful because I'm 5'8" and they're 5'5", 5'4", right? 5 feet, 8 inches tall, 5 feet, 4 inches tall, in case you're watching from a different metric system. So I am really asking you to evaluate and consider what you're referencing and in terms of like inspiration, because I think we all do it. I think it's natural to look out and go, well, what's possible? Right? What's inspiring and what, especially as we live in a time where there's so much opportunity to see other inspiration because there's so much media on the platforms and even growing up, before social media, like we had the magazines, right? Which is an even more so curated, representation of bodies and beauty. And what really needed to happen before I could make real transformation and real progress in my physical presence in my body was I really needed to look at, what is the meaning I'm making of these images? What do they represent for me when I see another woman and her body is what I judge as beautiful, what I judge as the ideal body frame? Am I making it mean that mine is not? Am I making it mean that mine is insufficient? Am I making it mean that I am failing? Am not good enough? And that's the unpacking because that consistently referencing the external world for the sake of collecting evidence that I am not what I should be, judgment should be, then there's no way for me to arrive in a peaceful place. Because there's no way for me as a woman who is 5 feet 8 inches tall to become a woman who is 5 feet 4 inches tall. And if I get honest with myself, that's not really what I'm craving anyways in this journey, right? When I look at these other women, and maybe when you look at these other women, maybe it's not their physique that you're so attached to. Maybe it's not their physical body that is such an incredible thing. Maybe it's the fact that they walk in confidence. Maybe it's the fact that they feel so free in it, or they seem to, right? Because we don't know, because we'd have to go ask. We'd have to go ask them, like, hey, do you feel free in your body? Do you feel confident in your body? And I would imagine that since they're also human, they might be like, some days yes, some days no. Most days yes, most days no. We don't know, right? And we also, here's the other catch. We also don't know really what their regimen is, okay? We really don't know what their regimen is, because I've seen these videos of like what I eat in a day, right? And I feel like there needs to be videos of what I don't eat in a day. Because what I don't eat in a day is also just as important as what I do eat in a day. And showing us that, but also even more so than showing us that, how about we find our anchor and center point in this, right? And the moment I said, you know what, rather than referencing what's out there, rather than referencing what I see on social media, rather than referencing Meg the Stallion, because I mean, like, incredible, right? Incredible physique from my perspective. How about I look at me, I land in my body, and I go, you know what? There are aspects of this body that I can manipulate a bit. I can put on more muscle mass. I can decrease the fat on my body. I can change my figure a little bit based on the distribution of muscle that I have. But how about I accept it? How about I accept that this is what I have to work with in this lifetime? And how about I decide how I'm going to move with this body? And I liken this to a painter, right? Think of how many colors there are in the world. There's so many colors in the world, right? There's tons of blues, there's tons of greens, there's tons of reds, different shades, right? I liken this to a painter being like, given 10 colors when a billion colors exist. And the painter, rather than painting and leveraging the 10 colors that they have and mixing and getting creative and experimenting and creating new colors from the colors that they were given, rather than doing that, they sit for decades and they long for the other colors. And that is really something that I find many of us doing, and I found myself doing for so long, was instead of making the most of the metaphorical colors that I have, I was looking out into the world just longing for different colors, longing to wish that I could have had different colors. And I don't, and you don't, right? Longing for a different body when this is my body. This is what I have, and really coming to terms with the lengths at which I'm willing to go to make it something that I can be in acceptance of, and being confident in that and rooting myself in that, right? Up until now, I'm not really willing to go have a bunch of surgeries, and those wouldn't settle me in any kind of way if I wasn't in full acceptance and in full embrace of the foundation that I have to work with in my body. So I offer that to you today. Before you decide that you want to transform your body and you start looking at macros and you start looking at workouts, ask yourself, where have I subscribed to this idea that I'm not good enough until I look like someone else? Can I consider embracing the idea that I will always be me? And that is a beautiful thing. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.